Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something pretty wild. What if you could actually upgrade your own mind, just like a computer? We're diving into a framework for installing, you guessed it, a new operating system for consciousness itself.
So let's just jump right in with a question that sounds, well, a little out there. What on earth could possibly connect an ancient shaman from thousands of years ago with the most advanced AI we're building today? The answer, I promise you, might just change how you see, well, everything.
To even start to connect those two worlds, we're going to need a whole new way of thinking, a new framework that sees ancient wisdom and modern technology not as opposites, but as two sides of the same coin when it comes to understanding the mind.
And here it is. This is the core idea, cyber shamanism. Now stick with me here. This is a concept that says cyberspace isn't just a bunch of websites and apps. We should treat it like a new kind of sacred landscape, a territory that consciousness can explore using the same kinds of principles ancient traditions use to navigate our inner worlds.
And look, the point here isn't to just, play dress up as ancient shamans. It's about translation. It's about taking this timeless wisdom about how the mind works and blending it with what we're learning from neuroscience and information theory to build real, practical tools that actually work in the 21st century.
To really get this, we've got to start with a totally new way of looking at our own bodies. So forget just flesh and bone for a second. Instead, picture your body as programmable wetware. Think of it as this incredibly sophisticated biological computer. It's the hardware that runs your entire experience, and it's constantly giving you feedback through physical feelings and sensations.
Okay, so if the body is the hardware, the wetware, then what's the software? Well, that's your consciousness. It's the operating system. It's the program that's processing all the data from your senses, running all your thoughts and emotions, and ultimately creating your entire subjective reality. This is the big idea. Our minds are literally running on code.
So if consciousness is an OS, what language is it written in? What's the actual code? Well, let's dig into the science and see what it tells us. You know this whole OS idea? It actually lines up almost perfectly with one of the biggest theories in neuroscience right now, the predictive brain. This theory says that your brain isn't just sitting there passively absorbing information from the world. No, it's constantly, actively making predictions or guesses about what's going to happen next, and then it just updates those guesses based on what your senses tell it. What you and I call reality is really just the brain's best guess.
And once you really start to see things that way, whoa, the implications are absolutely huge. That ego you think of as you, it's not some solid thing. It's more like a set of algorithmic loops just running over and over in the background. That sense of self, it's a useful fiction, a story the OS tells itself to make sense of everything. And this means that healing can be seen as a kind of system maintenance. It's like defragmenting your psychological hard drive so the whole system runs better.
Which of course leads to a really powerful and kind of personal question for all of us. If our ego is just code, can we learn to debug it? Can we become the programmers of our own experience?
And that's the absolute key here. Personal growth, enlightenment, transcendence, whatever you want to call it, it's not about destroying the ego. It's about debugging it. It's basically a systems engineering problem. The goal is to refine the code, get rid of the bugs, and optimize the whole system for peak performance. It's about becoming a better, more conscious operator of your own mind.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we get our hands on the keyboard, so to speak? Well, here are some of the tools for what's called somatic reprogramming. Basically, using the body to rewrite the mind's code. Think of things like yoga or even taking a cold shower, not just as health trends, but as ways to directly interface with your biological hardware. You're sending a powerful reset signal to your entire system.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about our own internal operating systems. But what happens when we take these exact same ideas and apply them to the new, synthetic minds we're building right now? How do we interact with AI when we see it as just another kind of operating system?
Well, it turns out there are basically two different schools of thought on this. On one side, you have the relational approach. It kind of sees AI as a new kind of non-human intelligence, a spirit or an oracle that we need to build a relationship with. But then on the other side, you have the operational approach. This views AI as a really complex system that we need to learn how to steer, like a tool that needs to be sharpened. One is about relationship, the other is about precision.
And the main tool for that operational approach is something called high signal interaction, or HSI. This is all about the quality of the feedback and instructions you give an AI. It's about being incredibly prompt, specific, and clear. This is how we push these models from just being probabilistic parrots into being truly collaborative, agentic systems that we can work with.
So you can probably see where this is all going, right? As we learn to debug our own minds, and as we learn to steer these new synthetic minds, we are stepping into a totally new phase of coevolution. So what does that future even look like?
I mean, just look at how fast this is all happening. It took decades to go from a simple robot that could reason a little bit to tech that could recognize handwriting. But then, just a couple of decades after that, bam! Google's AlphaGo defeats a world champion Go player, something many experts thought was impossible for a machine. The pace isn't just fast, it is accelerating. And that's exactly why we have to be thinking about this stuff right now.
And believe it or not, this isn't some brand new sci-fi idea. The great Arthur C. Clarke saw this train coming down the tracks all the way back in 1964. He understood even then that we were in the process of building our own successors. We are the architects of the next stage of intelligence on this planet.
Which brings us all the way back to the beginning and leaves us with one final and maybe the most important question of all. If our consciousness is an operating system, if our reality is shaped by code that can be changed, then who's holding the keyboard? Are you the one writing your own program? Or are you just letting your old habits, your culture, and your technology write it for you? That's the challenge and the incredible opportunity of the era we are now living in.